Okay, so I made this card with a flying bat today, and a bunch of people asked me for a quick tutorial on how to make it. I am not a videographer, but I'm going to try and show you each of the steps that I did to make this flying bat on the card. And hopefully some of you will, even though I'm not a great videographer, see how easy it is, and you'll enjoy doing it too. Uh, I'm not Marianne, I'm not Demo Donna, I'm not Ginger, but I do have fun making cards, and I think the rest of you do too. So hang on a second and let me get everything set up. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to show you was making a card base easy. Now this is really thick cardstock, like 110 pounds. And I get it from lots of different sources, but you can even get it locally at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby. For this one, because this is kind of close to the top, I'm going to make a side folding card to make it easier to use. So the first thing you do is take and put a crease at the 4.5 inch mark down a regular sheet of 8.5 by 11 inch paper. After you make a 4 1/4 one way, I turn it the other way and do the same thing. And it should be nearly identical, but it's off and off just a little bit. Then to fold it, I take the two ends and press them together into the corner. This helps them to line up better for me. And I think a lot of people have trouble getting it to line up. So I just thought I'd show you that was my little trick to get that. Then what I'll do is I'll just take that and I'll cut it in half at 5.5 inches. Okay, so I took that over and I cut it in half at 5.5 inches. And now I have two card bases that are ready to go for that. Hang on, let me get this out of the way. Now the next thing I like to do to make this a lot easier is to do all of my cutting and put the pieces together so that I can find them easy. And I just have this little wooden tray that I picked up at a yard sale that works pretty good. And that way I'm able to keep all my pieces together. So y'all probably know how to put together and cut out the things to make the bat, but I have all my pieces right here, and the things to make the mouth with. And then there's just a few extra pieces. This is one of the tags that's in like 7, 8, or 9. And then I did 2 circles with a circle die that's a little bit bigger than a penny. If you look at this penny, it covers up the penny just about exactly. So about the same size as a penny actually. And then you need a smaller round die for using on your piece. If you have it, the small die for the hubcap on the special delivery kit is just about the right size. Let me bring that over and show you. Here's my special delivery kit all ready to go. And if you look, this one that's for the wheel is just about the same size as the one I did. And then this little one that's for the hubcap right here is the same size as you'll need for the other little circle. Either that, or if you have like nested infinity dies, for me I used the ones that were the second and third smallest ones. So we've got all the pieces cut for the bat. I've got the stamps set aside here. We've got a black background piece cut out with the die from 7, 8, or 9 that cuts a full 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch piece. That one works great for a background piece on a card. And then I believe this one was from set 2 or 4. Anyhow, it's just a little bit smaller. And if you look, after those ones are cut out, they really do a good job of leaving just a little bit of reveal. And then you get it twice as thick that way, which works really good for making the flying element. Hang on a second, let me sit down and show you the rest. We also have a circle, and this is also from Foundation Die. It's either set 1 or 2, but just got a circle to use as a moon. And then this is the one that kind of looks like a postage stamp along the edge for using for sentiments and such. And I actually cut that one out twice. Once in the orange for a background piece, and once in the black to actually use for the sentiment that we'll put down there. So, and then the only other thing you need is the card base that we just cut out. Hang on a second and we'll get things started. Okay, now I'm not going to do this on camera because it's really hard for me to get in the right place to do that and be able to see that I've got it right. But I'm going to glue these 4 pieces together. The background black piece, which is just a single piece of light black cardstock, and then the foreground of the background pieces, which is the purple piece from out of the kit. Then I'll glue on this orange strip across here and the yellow circle piece for the moon. Now I am going to put that yellow circle piece down, and what I use for a guide so that it all fits really well is I want about the same amount of overage here, here, and here. So it's just about centered on that end of the card. Hang on a second, I'll get those done and be right back. I was just going to say, when I'm putting on the little orange cross piece for in the backdrop, I try and put it about 1/3 of the way down from the top. If you're not sure, kind of hold the moon in front of it with those reveal edges I was talking about, and make sure it's like at or near the center where that goes across, and then you'll have it just right. Okay, now once you have that orange piece across, you just put that nice big yellow moon across like that. And when you get it in the right spot, just push it down so that your taper glue sticks real well. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take that itty bitty circle piece I was telling you about, the one that makes the hubcap on the vehicle, or your really small one from your stacking die kit will work. And you want to put it so that it's at the center of the top and down just a ways from the top of the moon. If you can get about 1/4 of an inch between that and the top, that works out well. And then I like to put a little piece of tape that I've used a bunch just to hold it in the right position while I'm putting it through my die cutting machine. Now, hang on a second, I'm going to go ahead and die cut that. Okay, I've run that through my die cutting machine, and because it's going through 3 pieces of paper, I went all the way frontwards and then back, so twice through the machine to get it to cut out real well. And then it cut through all 3 pieces just without a problem. Okay, now once you have that piece done, we're going to put together our little mechanism. Now I have one that's mostly done, kind of to show you what it looks like after the mechanism is put together. And I put a picture of it up on the royalty page, and so you could kind of see, but I'll kind of explain it to you too. So on the front is of course our wonderful little bat die cut all ready to go with shaker fillings in it, and I just used some of the black princess cut that were in the kit and added on a few more beads and such to fill it out. And then I put on the cute little face, and I loved, I think it was Marianne who showed us to cut off the teeth from the black mouthpiece and then use a white layer down below, and that works really well. And then it's just sitting in there loose through that hole that we made. And then on the back, I used that little piece that we cut out with the foundation die. And at the bottom, I put on a penny, just using some glue dots. Hang on, now let me start putting those pieces together and I'll show you more in live. Hang on a sec. Now before I actually put the bat together, I did want to tell you that it's really good to cut out with the outline die a backing piece. It works much better. Now this piece right here, that's for the shaker part, I'd actually run out of them from my kit, but I had a big piece from a butterfly kit that I did, and I was able to cut it out using just the regular topping die that's in the kit, and it works really well for that. I just had to run it through twice and it cut out beautifully. But you do need a backing piece, so if you don't have the outline die, you want to lay down the die and trace around it and cut out a backing piece, because you're going to need it for this to work well. Hang on a second, I'll start putting this piece together to show you. Okay, so now we have the backing piece with the foam piece, and before I put anything inside, I'm going to go ahead and use my little prep tool that I use when I'm doing embossing, and just get a little powder down in there from that. And then I'll take just a nice soft brush and just brush it around to try and make sure it's up on those edges, to help keep from getting too much sticking to the inner edge when I put in the toppings. Just blow out that extra there. That seems to be just fine. Now we're going to set it down and put some toppings in there. So I have, these are from the topping kits for Frankie and Friends and Fright Night. I'm going to put some of these Black Princess Cut fill in there, just a few. It might be a few too many. Let's see. Yeah, that's just about right. And then they had some teeny tiny bats in the Frankie and Friends one. I don't know if it'll focus on those. I'm going to sprinkle just a few of those in there. I don't know if anyone will notice them, because they are tiny, but gosh, aren't they cute? Oh, and don't forget, if they're sticking in there, they're going to stick inside. So take your bag and just huff in it to get some of that static out. And then we'll put just a few of those in there. Yeah, that should do it. And then I'm just going to use some fill from my stash. I have just some little black stars. We're going to put a few of those in too. Try not to make a mess with them. They kind of add an extra little sparkle in there, so it's really helps the fill to look better. And then we're going to put just a little bit of these dark gray beads that I have in. Hang on a second, let me put the lid on. 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay, now I wanted to show you, I had to cut out, of course, another piece of acetate since I'd used all the ones in the kit. And my acetate happens to come with just a thin piece of paper on it, so I'm able to just put that down and use the outline die and cut it. If your acetate doesn't have paper on it, just get a piece of copy paper and put it on with it, and it'll work much better for getting that on. Now, when I place this onto this, I need to first peel off the little piece of protection above the adhesive, and I like to take my little tool and just hold down on the bottom so that I don't disturb the fill very much, at least when I'm starting it. Carefully, carefully. There we go. Once we have that all off, we're going to line up this wonderful piece, and I'm leaving the white paper on so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm just using my finger to line it up along one edge and commit to the stick and just bring it down to the other. And then I'll take off that little white piece of paper that I used for cutting, and you can see it went on pretty well. And hang on a second, I'm just going to put some glue on the back of my topping sheet. Okay, so there's a thin bead of that liquid glue, and I'm just going to line it up like I did the other so that my fingers can help me find all the edges and get them all lined up nicely. These little grooves make it easier to get it lined up nice. Okay, got that all lined up. Now I'm going to turn it off a second while I put the face together and put that on, because I don't want to bore you guys to death. Hang on a sec. Okay, I wanted to show you just a couple of things when you're putting on the face. No matter how careful you are with the eyes, you aren't going to go on exactly in center either one. So what I try to do is make sure that I put both of the eyes with the shorter piece in the same direction. Usually that's going down towards the mouth. It looks better that way. Oh, and don't worry if there's a little bit of glue that gets on the outside. As long as you have glue that dries clear, it won't hurt a thing. So now I'm going to line up this eye kind of to go with the one next to it. Right there. There we go. We'll give it just a little tiny scooch. So now their eyes just seem to be like they go together to me. If not, if you get them a little off, don't worry, you'll have fun eyes. Okay. Now, after you get them all put together, you're going to want to give them just a few minutes to get all nice and dry. So I'm going to set them off to the side real quick and just let him be. And while he's drying, I'm going to go ahead and start putting together my pieces for inside. So I have the little tab, a little black piece we cut out, and the penny. And then I also have, to put those all together, just some of my glue dots from my stash. Hang on a second, let's get those all put together. I'm going to try and keep this running while I do that, so that maybe you can see it. So it doesn't matter if this little piece in the middle stays or goes, it's going to fall out at some point. But just put a little bit of liquid glue around it, kind of in a circle, for that nice round piece of the paper to go on the cardstock. So we're just going to put that on right there, right at the top. And that makes it so there's no hole there. Then we're going to flip that piece over, and we're going to take the glue dots, and we're just going to put 3 glue dots onto that penny. And I like to put them on the back because it's a little bit flatter, so a little bit easier to do. So this part is going to cost you a whole penny to do, plus whatever the glue dots are. So probably that's a little bit more. So we're just going to put 3 of them on there. One there, and one above it, and one below it. I like to use the glue dots for this because they tend to hold on really nice and strong. And now I'm just going to put it at the end, and this will be kind of our counterweight to help the bat to be able to move. Okay, now that's had just a few seconds to dry, and this has had a little bit of time to dry. So we're going to put some glue right on here and then glue it on the back of this cute little bat. Oh, excuse me, we are not putting that onto the bat. We are going to put this other piece onto the bat. I get myself confused sometimes. Sorry, folks. I'm actually going to dry up that glue that I put on the other one, because that is wrong. But it won't hurt anything. We'll be able to dry it up real quick. There we go. Let me pause you and take care of that, so you don't have to. Okay, that glue has dried real nicely. Now the thing that we need to add is a piece that's a spacer that's going to go in between the back here and the front, which will be the bed. I actually have some spacers that I have in my stash that I'm going to use, but you can also use for a spacer if you don't have some of these like in your stash. You can use, and I just got those off of Amazon, but you can use just a little round adhesive circle. Those will work too because the foam on those is big enough too. But I just tend to like these because they're a little stiffer and my hands shake a little bit. So I like having something that'll hold a little more still for me. So I'm just going to take one piece and put it right on a glue dot on one side of it, lift it off with the glue dot and put it onto the back piece right here near the center. Then I'm going to take the piece that we cut out and left to dry earlier and put that little plastic piece through the hole. And then I'm going to put another glue dot right on top and then put this little bat right on top of it. And I'll show you what happens then. Okay. And then I'm going to take it out to make it a little easier to get this on. We'll just get that glue dot right on there. Just like that. Set it right through that hole. Now we're going to line up the bat right there. And we're going to do it so that the whole round piece is going to be covering that. So we're going to put it up here near the top of the moon. We're going to try and make sure that that's straight up and down and that the bat is also straight up and down so that it'll get the most movement after it's done. Now we got to give that a good press and give it just a minute to make sure it's all nice and dry and in place. And then we can take it and just make sure it worked. Yep, there we go. Now it doesn't shake so much right now because we don't have anything holding our little counterbalance yet. See how it's just running freely, and we can see that it can move freely, so that's good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thinner foam tape and I'm going to run a double layer of it on each of the sides and on the top, and then I'll turn it back on once I get those 3 pieces in. Okay, I've just about got the 2 layers around on everything, but I wanted to show you, in order to put on the second layer on each side, you need to pull off the release paper so that the next layer will stick to the first. Oops, let me turn that off. Little boo-boo. There we go. So then you just put it straight down on the first layer and give it a trim right near the edge there. There we go. All right, and now we're going to take, I have some squares from the Dollar Tree, so the whole thing's $1. That keeps the cost down for these. Since the roll of adhesive is a little more spendy, I like to use these. And then what we're going to do is we're going to place them here, 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 and then across the bottom. And I'll turn it back on as soon as I've got all those placed. Okay, we've got those all put on now. So in order to hook it to our wonderful card base, we're going to need to pull these off. But what I do to make it a little bit easier is I just pull one corner and fold it towards the front for these long pieces. That way I can have just a little bit of wiggle room to get it lined up with the front of the card. Okay, there's those three. Now I'm not going to worry about taking off the release paper on any of these ones in the middle. I'll just get the 4 of them along the bottom as well. And the ones in the middle will just rest against it, and it'll make it a bit easier to put it on nice and neat onto the card front, or the card base, excuse me. Okay, so once we have all those off, and these ones folded towards the front, I don't know if I can quite show you this, but I'm going to try really hard to line it up so that you can see. We'll get it all lined up, check it from the front, make sure we have it right side up and all, and then we're just going to pull these out and press down. There we are. And now our little bat is ready to fly around. Now hang on a second, I'm going to go ahead and take this little black piece that I showed you earlier, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp it with some Versamark ink and white heat emboss it with one of the stamps from the set that reads "Flying by with a Halloween High." I'll be right back with that. Now I'm kind of assuming everybody knows how to do this, but I just put some of my powder on there, and then I take my Versamark ink, put it onto this stamp, and just blow off any of the extra of the powder. And then we put that on, and I'm going to use just a little towel to rub it in place to make sure it gets good contact, but so that I don't accidentally squish it too hard and mess up the words. We'll take a look at that. And I don't think you can see it because of the angle that it's at, but we did get a good impression. So I'm going to go ahead and use some of my detail white to get that ready to emboss real quick. And I'm going to turn this off because it makes a lot of noise while I'm doing the embossing. Here we go. But I'll show you. I just take a little spoon and put it on and tap off any extra. Hold it from the edge and do the same thing on the other side. And then it's all ready. And if there's any that sticks like at the ends or edges, you just take a nice dry paintbrush and get those off before you heat set it with the heat gun. Hang on a second, I'll be right back after I have that heat set. Okay, we got that done. Let's go ahead and put some tape runner on this and get it onto our card. I think this is the last piece. Make sure we get it on right side up and as even as I can make it. There's that one, and we have a second one that we did. This is the other one that I did first. Let's go ahead and get the second one done that we also did. And we now have 3 of these complete. And hopefully you'll all enjoy these. I will tell you that even though they seem to stay together real well with the glue dots, I wouldn't send them to really young children because they would probably pull that little bat off. But I hope you all enjoyed as much as I had fun making it. Thank you.